Here's something that bothers me more than it probably should. Somewhere right now, a student is sitting in a classroom being told that humans evolved from chimpanzees. A confident person at a dinner table is explaining that evolution means life gets better over time. And somewhere on the internet, definitely on the internet, someone is typing the words, "but it's just a theory," like that settles the whole debate. And the wild part? None of those things are true, not even close. Evolution is one of the most documented, tested, and verified ideas in the entire history of science. We have more evidence for it than we do for the germ theory of disease, more than we do for plate tectonics, more than almost anything else we claim to know about the physical world. And yet, somehow, it is also one of the most deeply, persistently misunderstood ideas humanity has ever produced. So here's what I want to do. I want to take the version of evolution you think you know and hold it up to the light. Because I promise that by the end of this, at least one thing you believed about evolution is going to quietly fall apart, and what replaces it is going to be so much more interesting. Let's start with the biggest one, the one that somehow survived 100 years of better education. Humans evolved from apes. You've heard it. You've probably said it. I said it. And look, it feels intuitive, right? We look at a chimpanzee and something in our brain goes, yeah, okay, I see the family resemblance. So the story writes itself. Chimps came first, then something climbed down from a tree and eventually became us. But that's not what happened. That's not even close to what the science says. Here's the actual picture. Imagine a tree. Not a straight ladder, but a sprawling, branching tree. Humans and chimpanzees didn't come one from the other. We share a common ancestor, a species that no longer exists, that split into two separate lineages millions of years ago. One branch became the great apes we know today. Another branch, over millions of years of change and pressure and survival, eventually became us. We are not descended from chimps. We are more like cousins, deeply related, shaped by the same ancient family, but separate branches on the same enormous tree of life. The distinction matters, because the moment you picture a straight line, monkey to ape to caveman to us, you've already misunderstood evolution at its most fundamental level. Evolution isn't a ladder. It's a bush, messy, branching, non-directional, and absolutely indifferent to the idea of progress. Which brings us to the second myth. And honestly, this one might be harder to let go of. We love progress narratives. We are wired for them. Things get worse, then they get better. That's the shape of every story we've ever told ourselves. So it makes perfect sense that we'd project that shape onto evolution. Life starts simple, gets more complex, gets better, until eventually, standing at the top of the whole grand escalator, you get us. Humanity. The point of the whole exercise. Except evolution has no escalator. There is no top. There is no better. Evolution is not a process of improvement. It is a process of fit. And those are completely different things. A bacterium living in a hydrothermal vent on the ocean floor has not failed to evolve into something more complex. It is exquisitely, perfectly adapted to its environment. In terms of evolutionary success, survival, reproduction, persistence through time, bacteria are crushing it. They've been here for 3.5 billion years. Humans have been around for roughly 300,000. If this were a competition, we wouldn't even be in the conversation yet. Think about it this way. You wouldn't call a hammer worse than a smartphone just because it's simpler. A hammer is perfectly fit for what it does. Evolution produces fit, not hierarchy. Complexity emerges when complexity helps an organism survive, not because the universe is moving towards some predetermined destination. There is a word for the belief that evolution produces a purposeful march toward greater complexity and human-level consciousness. That word is teleology, and it has nothing to do with how evolution actually works. This matters beyond just being accurate, because when we think of ourselves as the point of evolution, the intended outcome, we subtly, dangerously misunderstand our place in the web of life. We're not the summit, we're one branch, a remarkable, strange, self-aware branch, but still just a branch. Okay, now the one that drives scientists genuinely, legitimately insane. Evolution is just a theory. You already know this argument. Someone deploys it like a trump card, as if the word theory means guess, as if science just threw evolution out there as a rough idea and hasn't really followed up. Here's what theory actually means in science. A scientific theory is not a hunch. It is not a hypothesis. It is an explanation, a framework that has been tested against evidence repeatedly across multiple independent fields and has held up. A scientific theory is the highest level of explanatory confidence that science produces. Gravity is a theory, germ theory, The idea that microorganisms cause disease is a theory. The theory of relativity, the theory of electromagnetism, these are not uncertain ideas waiting to be proven. They are the bedrock of everything we build, everything we cure, everything we send into space. Evolution is a theory in exactly this sense. We have the fossil record, which is extraordinary in its detail and continuity. We have direct genetic evidence, the fact that human and chimpanzee DNA overlaps by roughly 98.7%, with the same broken genes appearing in the same places across both genomes, like identical typos in two copies of the same ancient manuscript. We have observed evolution happen in real time. In bacteria developing antibiotic resistance, in the Galapagos finches studied across decades, in laboratory experiments that have watched new traits emerge across hundreds of generations. We haven't proven evolution the way you prove a math equation, but science doesn't work that way. Science works by accumulating evidence until the explanation becomes so strongly supported that doubting it requires ignoring an enormous, coherent, cross-referenced mountain of data, and the evidence for evolution is, by that standard, overwhelming. Let's talk about survival of the fittest, because this phrase, which Darwin didn't even coin, by the way, has done perhaps more damage to the public understanding of evolution than anything else. We hear it and we think, the strong survive, the ruthless win, nature is red in tooth and claw, and the lesson is that dominance is natural, competition is everything, and compassion is a luxury evolution never intended. But fittest doesn't mean strongest. It doesn't mean fastest, most aggressive, or most dominating. In evolutionary terms, fitness means one thing: reproductive success, your ability to survive long enough to pass your genes on. And here's where it gets genuinely beautiful. Because for social species, for animals that live in groups, that cooperate, that care for their young, traits like empathy, altruism, and cooperation are deeply fit. They increase survival. They strengthen the group. A wolf that helps its pack hunt survives longer than a lone wolf that doesn't. A human community that shares resources, protects its children, and cooperates under pressure leaves more descendants than one that doesn't. Evolution, in other words, didn't just tolerate kindness. In the right circumstances, it selected for it. The next time someone uses survival of the fittest to justify ruthlessness or cruelty, you can smile and let them know, gently, generously, that they've misunderstood the science they're trying to cite. So here's where we land. Evolution isn't a ladder climbing toward human perfection. It's a tree. Ancient, sprawling, still growing, with no particular destination in mind. It doesn't produce better, it produces fit. It doesn't guarantee progress, it guarantees change. We didn't descend from apes. We are, in the most literal sense, kin to them. Cousins in a family that stretches back billions of years, to a time when life was nothing more than chemical reactions in warm water, groping blindly toward replication. And somehow, through an almost incomprehensible series of accidents, pressures, extinctions, and adaptations, here we are. Conscious, curious, asking questions about our own origins. That's not a diminished story. That's not a cold or meaningless story. If anything, I think it's more profound than the alternatives, because it means we weren't given our place in the world. We are the product of an unimaginable journey. Every cell in your body carries the compressed history of 4 billion years of survival. You are, quite literally, made of ancient persistence. The thing is, the real enemy here isn't any particular myth about evolution. It's the discomfort of not being the center of the story. It's the discomfort of being continuous with nature rather than separate from it. But once you sit with that, once you actually let it in, it's not unsettling. It's extraordinary. Go look at a tree, not metaphorically, an actual tree. And know that you and that tree share a common ancestor. Know that the mitochondria in your cells were once free-living bacteria that entered into a partnership with another cell, and that partnership never ended. Know that you are ancient, that you are connected, that you are the universe becoming briefly, improbably aware of itself. That's what evolution actually says about you. I think that's worth understanding correctly. Subscribe to the channel. Every week, we publish fascinating videos about everything imaginable, from hidden mysteries and shocking discoveries to stories that will completely change the way you see the world. Don't miss the next one.